Welcome back, everyone, to Art Lounge Alley. This is Project Stream Part 54. I am your host, and I am going to be doing more work on what you guys are seeing right now on screen. This is something that I've been cooking for some time. A character that I came up with. If you guys guessed it, it is the guy right in the middle, kind of in the middle, playing guitar. He is an android, a fully made android who is an amazing musician. And he has emojis for a face. He doesn't have a face. Still trying to figure out whether I should give him a voice or not. Or if he's just simply going to be a mute with very animated faces and the ability to play amazing music. And I just thought this would be an interesting scene because, here is this animatronic, or rather this android, this machine that's playing this like very soulful music, very much in tune with emotions and reality, and he's surrounded by a bunch of people with emotions and are part of the real world, who are these biological beings, basically what he is. And and they're completely immersed in technology. So it's just this kind of like flipped scenario of like this technological being playing very soulful, very emotional, and in tune kind of music, being surrounded by the people who are completely enamored by machines. So yeah, I thought it would be a pretty cool scene. It's a futuristic world, as you guys could see from all the flying cars in the background. There's also one, if you've spotted it, it's in the top right corner. It is either lifting off or setting itself down to drop off a passenger. And yeah, it's a pretty dirty city, grimy city in the future. So I'm going to continue doing more work on that. It's getting closer to being finalized, at least for inking. And it's a bit of a precious stage, and because I feel like, oh, I could do more, I could do better, you know, I could improve this and I could improve that. So it's having to find a balance between working on it, improving things, and also letting it go to start another project, which I'm also pretty excited about. More work from imagination. I feel like that needs to be in the mix more, considering that, you know, you got drawing basics. I'm also doing Conan, working from a comic book, and then coloring that same comic book. I feel like there needs to be space for some work from imagination, nothing referenced, or at least for the majority of it, because I do want to reference some buildings, you know, just to get an idea, get some inspiration, something to build from. And for those of you who've been tuning in for the previous project streams, you guys might have noticed that I was, let me see if I could pop it up right now. I was also taking a look at Moebius's work. If you guys are not familiar with Moebius, I highly encourage you to check out his work. This is one of the panels, very inspiring panel. I absolutely love the work done on it. So I've just been kind of studying it and looking at, like, well, how does he do buildings or little details? You know, as you can see, like over here, I think that's pretty cool. And he does have a tendency to really put in a lot of detail for shading. You know, it's not your traditional shading that you would see, where it's like solid colors with a couple of lines. It's kind of different from, in comparison to, let's say, John Buscema's work. If you notice that for him, his shading is very similar to what you would see here, for example, where it's solid colors and there's like some feathering on there, you know, just to give it more of a textured feel. But in this case, I'm not really doing that as much. There's only a couple of areas where I do that. It's not really for all shadows. I'm not opposed to playing around with it and kind of just seeing what that's going to look like, because it does have a different feel. You know, it gives the characters a different vibe. So I'm just going to try and see what his entire outfit's going to look like with some feathering done. I don't know. I'm slightly not feeling it. But I'm gonna wait until all of it is done and then really take a look at how it looks combined. Yeah, I'm alright without it. I don't know if I'm really gonna put much of that in there. Just in some areas, like I really like how it turned out underneath, right here where her leg is. As you guys could see, some feathering lines there. So I think it just has its place, and maybe not so much on his shadows. Just in some areas. But I do want to give the floor a little bit more grit and dirt. Kind of debating to see if like I should just extend all these lines all the way around. You know, like to completely fill up the floor with these lines and see what it looks like. And the way I'm going to do that is by creating a new layer. So that if I don't like it, I could just simply delete the layer. And instead of having to like go in and manually erase all the lines, keeping ones I like and the ones I don't. Just seems like it would be a waste. So positive for digital drawing, you could do things like this. Traditionally, I think you have a little bit less room for experimenting, like in that case. You know, if you start doing it, kind of have to like commit to it. And if you don't like it, you know, tough luck. You kind of have to stick with it unless you want to do all that erasing and etc. And this past weekend, I actually watched something really interesting. It is mature content, so I'm warning you guys now. That way you know, there's some like nudity, and it's a little strange, but it's an animation. It's called Fritz the Cat. Something that I saw, it's on Amazon now. And it is based off of Robert or R. Crumb's work. He is more of like an indie underground artist. He's done several other type of comics as well. And I'm familiar with his work. I've seen his comics before, and I just never really and I've heard of Fritz before, Fritz the Cat, but just never really got into it. Never really explored it, and I just happened to like see it on Amazon Prime. I was like, R. Crumb. Let me take a look. I didn't connect R. Crumb with Fritz the Cat. I just saw his other comic books before. But I started playing it and I liked it. You know, it wasn't so much like the animation, which is great, which is really cool. The style is very cool. I like how he does scenes, the backgrounds that he makes are excellent. It's beautiful work. It's beautiful work all around, really. I like it a lot. Just like some of the stuff that he was talking about, how he was portraying things. Has a political undertone to it as well. And it gives you kind of an idea of like that era and just how it's the same story, man. It's like, it's ridiculous. The same merry-go-round. Same problems, you know, poverty, racism, not a lot of no jobs, low paying wages, all that stuff. You know, it's ridiculous. In a country where it's supposed to like supposedly value the input of the citizens, you know, by the people, for the people, that whole thing. And yet, it's the same story every single generation. Same exact problems, same exact frustrations, and people getting tired of it and all that other stuff. It's just not pushed back enough and as often as it needs to be for it to change. Like as I mentioned before, like there have to be protests going on all day with rotating protesters to fix these issues. You know, don't make it easy for them to just ruin your life or to make things difficult for people to enjoy their life while they just continue to exploit everybody, collect taxes, and not even building the economy back, just using it for their yachts. All that greedy, crazy, nasty behavior that's been perpetuated for years, for generations. But yeah, anyways, you know, that cartoon kind of highlights that. It kind of gives you that input as well. But it's cool animation. There are certain scenes where it's very trippy as well. How he creates the moments and how he tries to portray certain ideas. It's very creative. Just gonna take a step back and see what the floor looks like. With it, without it. I'm gonna wait to do all of it and just see what it looks like. Develop the drawing more. Develop the characters. And then work on it. Work on the floor more. Or not, or just delete all of it. But yeah, for those of you who are mature enough, check out Fritz the Cat. There's also another animation that he's made, which I am going to be looking into as well. Well, he didn't make it, it's just based off of it. But the team that worked together to create all the animation, to create all the characters and the scenes, it's excellent. Also finished watching Primal. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's another one that's really great. Genndy Tartakovsky. He made Dexter's Laboratory as well, and I believe the Powerpuff Girls. I think several other ones too. I don't remember exactly which ones, but I finished watching it and it was great. It was really well done. Just the fact that the entire story was without dialogue, and he was still able to keep people glued. Well, I was glued, that's for sure. I was really into the story. I was into the animation. I wanted to know, and I felt for the character as well. Like, I wanted to know what was going on. I think it was really well done. And of course, I have been following the Game of Thrones series, the continuation, House of Dragons, and I absolutely love it. There's something that I found out recently, which was kind of bugging me before. I was looking at it and I was like, man, the king looks really familiar. Like, where is he from? And then it finally hit me. Like, one day I just saw him in a certain angle and I was like, that's the guy from Hot Fuzz. He was one of the cops from Hot Fuzz. So so to see him play this role as like a king, and then just remembering like certain scenes and certain ridiculous things that he was saying in Hot Fuzz was pretty hilarious. But he does a really good job. Like, I'm not taken out of the character. That's the thing about it. I was like, he's pretty good, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, where is he from? Where have I seen him act before? It's just kind of funny. If you guys haven't seen Hot Fuzz, it's a British comedy. It's the same cast, I want to say, as in Shaun of the Dead. If you guys are familiar with that, it's pretty much everybody from that movie is also in this one, in Hot Fuzz. So that's another movie for you guys to check out if you haven't already. Just gonna continue my way all the way down, I guess, on this side, and then finish up more on the other one. Thankfully, I've got some time, got plenty of time. I just want to add some grit and dirt. I don't want it to be too clean. I want the floor to actually have some texture as well. So it's just kind of like, I guess, playing around with finding a middle ground here. And it's something that I've been thinking about, like, should I texturize the floor? Like, I've done that before in some other projects, in some of the panels, and it looked pretty interesting. So trying to see if it'll fit in this scene with these characters, or if it's just gonna seem too stark of a difference, maybe two different styles of shading. I'm kind of waiting to actually draw this guy in the foreground. I don't know. I feel like he would be like the final piece because he really would pop out or really give dimension, I guess, to the drawing because he's so close to the camera in comparison to everybody else. I think it would be interesting. So I haven't really worked much on him as opposed to other characters in the scene. Try not to give the lines way too much straightness. If you guys aren't able to already tell, which by all these squiggly lines that I have going, but just to add to more texture of gravel, I guess, and wear and tear and dirt. I say this is like as close to 100% as I probably want it to be. I'm not going to make it a huge image, so the lines on the floor are relatively close to each other. All right, I'm going to continue on. I'm not unhappy with it. I'm going to keep on developing these lines here. I'm gonna do it over this squashed cup. There's also so much decision making that just goes into all of this. It really just becomes this thing of like, oh, well, what about this? What about that? You know, how does this look with it? Or how does that look with it? That's what gives this so many, like, almost infinite possibilities. And I guess that's the beauty of art in general, is that there are no real limits. You know, there is a part of me that didn't really like the idea of having a style. You know, I think that limits the expression of an artist. Like having a style, I think it's like you're just bound to it. You know, you're well known. Like I remember when I was younger and I was working in the school, there were like these gallery events that would happen there. And I went into one of them and I saw there was this guy who was doing a gallery show of all of his work, and all of his work were trees swaying in the wind. Now, it was beautiful work. I really liked them. But the entire show and all the walls were just done of that. You know, so it's like, it kind of seemed like a gimmick. You know, it just seemed like it was something, and I understand its purpose. You know, I get that in order to have a name or to have people recognize you, or for viewers to know what to expect or whatever it is, or people who hire you know to know what to expect from you. It's very useful to have that. But I think that you could have that, but also not to forget to explore things outside of it. You know, like not just constantly for the rest of your artistic career, just do one thing all the time over and over and over again. Like, I think it's important to explore other areas and explore other styles and explore other ways of doing things. It just comes down to, and it's something I mention very frequently, time. How much time do you have? So I'm sure that people who are, you know, doing exhibitions and are making a career out of it, that's always a question of like, do you have enough time to actually explore that, as opposed to building your next work for an exhibition? Because it does require for you to take risk. It does require for you to, you know, venture out into unknown territories and get out of your comfort zone, which means doubt will start to creep in more, where it's like, is this going to be good? You know, like, people know me for this, you know, this artistic style or this kind of work or whatever, but they don't know, and I don't know how they're going to react to all of that. So perhaps it's something that you could try and see what the response is going to be like. And if it fails, then you can always go back to something you have been doing, you know. But I think for the sake of just enjoying art, you know, that's really, and this is something I talk about all the time, is that that's what it's really about. I mean, aside from wanting to make a career off of it, which is obviously important, you shouldn't forget that the process itself has its own reality outside of monetary need, outside of like expectations of others and viewers and stuff. It has to do with you and like what you want to do with the medium. You know, you like, maybe one day something else starts to fancy you, like maybe some other style or some other, you know, you're painting and you're drawing and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, this looks cool. Like, I want to do this. You know, I want to start focusing on creating content, doing this kind of stuff, and just doing it, you know, not being like, well, I don't know how it's going to be received and whether I'm really going to make money off of it, so just not even going to bother with it. This is the toxic aspect of capitalism, creeping in and making you focus so much on money that you just forget about the process itself. Yet another thing that capitalism destroys, the adventurous endeavors of the artistic field. And back in the day, I want to say, like, I don't know, maybe in the 40s and 50s, I don't think that the wage difference was as high. Like, as you guys know, the federal minimum wage hasn't been raised since 2009. 2009. So all along, from 2009 until 2022, everything else has been going up. Inflation for everything, rent, your needs, bills, everything has been going up. Meanwhile, that hasn't raised for over 13 years. For 13 years, none of that has improved. So what I'm getting at is basically during that, like, I'm going to say 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I think artists had more freedom in order to be able to, like, play around with things because of the basic needs of living weren't as astronomically different in comparison to wage. And the only reason why it got worse is because people weren't pushing hard back enough over the years. That complacency really gave all these corporations the obnoxious exploitation opportunities that they've been taking over the years. That's why things are getting worse and worse and worse. And as you guys know, greed doesn't reverse itself. It's not like one of these days they're going to be like, yeah, this is enough. Like, we're not going to exploit people anymore. We're not going to try to find different ways to make even more money, because really it's not even about them. Like, we're just trying to beat each other up. You know, I want to outbid this billionaire. I want to be the next one. So how do I do that? I exploit people even more. So because of their competitiveness with each other, they're putting everybody else in crappy conditions. And I think a lot of people forget that when it comes to these billionaires, it's not so much about like money anymore. It's just about these accomplishment wars. You know, I don't need the money, I just need it to show off. You know, numbers are a way to show off, similar to like how people do with followers, right? I got this many likes. Like, there's some people who are not making any money off of any of their likes, but their reputation is based on that. They're just like, I'm 50,000 likes, you know, and that becomes a thing. So that just demonstrates how, you know, if amongst people, you know, likes are so important, imagine what it's like when it comes to billionaires and all these other capitalists and what they're really valuing. It's not like, oh, I just need this to be happy or whatever else. It's just a numbers game, and that's totally abusing people's taxes, the economy. It's like they're playing games with everybody's lives. They don't care. Now tell me that doesn't sound like a crazy person. Isn't that what crazy people do? They just play with people's lives for their own amusement and joy. What's the difference? You know, what's the difference between a nut job and somebody who's just exploiting the system for their own fun? To me, it's harder and harder to notice it. I really don't really see much of a difference. You know, people, I think, when they think of somebody crazy, they think of somebody who's just babbling nonsense, which we still do have, and they're very rich, which goes to show how even that has become widely acceptable and isn't questioned as like, that's insane, that's insanity, that's behaving like a crazy person. Like, even that isn't even considered, which is very problematic, because it enables more and more people to do that as well. You know, oh, if he gets away with it, then I can. Let me just go along and do that. All right, with that rant, I was able to actually get a lot of the floor done. So I'm gonna keep it there. As always, it's on a different layer, so you know, I could play with it on and off once everything else is in place. But I don't mind it, to be honest. I kind of like it. It adds more distinction in the scene. I'm going to create another layer, because what's going to happen now is, because I have that down, you know, I have all that detail on the floor down, I might start constructing everything else and inking it based off of that. And that's not going to be... And then if I want to take it away, you know, it's not going to be good. Everything else might be in jeopardy. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying not to merge lines. As you can see, like this is part of Porky's, this line right here. And if I was to draw the building, maybe I have to make it wider instead of more narrow. And that way I could still retain, like I'm trying not to merge this line with the Porky's line. That's always bad. That's a bad choice compositionally. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now I gotta tell you guys, that upgrade for OBS from 27 to 28 is a huge improvement. I mean, does wonders. Just kind of curious. I haven't really looked. Like I'm just kind of wondering, like, how long have I been depriving myself of this fix? Like, it's so smooth. My I'm gonna say the delay between how when I make a line and when OBS, or not OBS, Clip Studio Paint registers it, huge difference. It's so smooth now. I'm very happy about that. Because yeah, like I was saying before, I was just not sure. I was like, am I rusty? Am I really this rusty when it comes to digital painting that I can't, that it's just really challenging for me to do this? Trying to give the roof some texture. I think that's better. No straight lines. There's a couple of buildings I'm not happy with, to be honest. I think they're a little too different in style, I'm going to say. And I'm going to talk about it in just a few minutes after I finish up this car right here. Another futuristic piece. Yeah, and I think it starts in these buildings right here. I'm not really sure whether I want to keep them or not. And especially this tower, I feel like I could do better. So for now, just for the sake of continuity, I'm gonna work on these buildings here because I am happy with them. They fit into the rest of the buildings. The idea here for these buildings, I thought maybe this is like a landing pad for cars. You know, there's like a residential or a commercial building, they could just fly into this area. And doors would slide open. Some advertisements on the building. Some random text, really. Normalizing policing bots by having them advertised so that people can get used to their image. Well, ladies and gents, it is coming to that time once again for me to start closing out the stream for the night. But fret not, I will be back. Tomorrow, there won't be a project stream at 9 p.m. Instead, it's going to be Wednesday, so that's going to be coloring comics. Yeah, I feel like it was Monday just yesterday. Actually, it just feels like today is Monday, to be honest. Yeah, time is just flying. But yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be doing coloring comics. So I'm going to be coloring John Buscema's work. So guys, make sure you tune in then to check that out. That's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here at the Art Lounge Alley. Now, if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you remember to hit the like and subscribe button. They both will be greatly appreciated by yours truly. And you'll also be helping the stream grow, reach out to a wider audience. Hopefully you guys can get more and more involved with the stream. Ask questions that you got, or pretty much talk about anything. And there isn't really anything specific. But for those of you who are wondering what, talk about what is the last thing that you watched that really imprinted itself on you. Like it made itself very memorable. To me, as I mentioned, it might have been a previous stream or it was this stream. It was Fritz the Cat. That is my memorable thing that I've watched recently that really imprinted itself on me. Also, of course, House of the Dragon. But what is yours? What is something that you recently watched that made itself very memorable, left a really big imprint on you? All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.